Investigators are working to determine what caused an overnight fire which spread across 3 homes in Louisville's Russell neighborhood. It broke out around 11 o'clock last night on West Jefferson Street and quickly spread and took 60 firefighters about an hour to get those flames under control. LFD said fortunately no one was injured. A bus driver and several students were taken to the hospital this morning after this crash on Charlestown Pike over in Clark County. Indiana State Police said the Greater Clark County school bus drove off the side of the road and struck a tree. The driver was unconscious when they got there and taken by ambulance along with a student on board with non-life-threatening injuries. 2 other students were taken by private means to the hospital with minor injuries. Well, today, the Jefferson County School Board is expected to discuss ongoing transportation issues and potential changes, specifically eliminating some bus routes next year. The agenda for tonight's meeting shows the board will review 3 options on the table: eliminating transportation for magnet and traditional students, creating hubs for parents to drop off and pick up their magnet and traditional students, or making no changes at all. Right now, the district says daily routes exceed the number of drivers available because of call-outs. Well, last weekend, the district did host a hiring blitz. About 200 people showed up. Driver recruitment and retention is also expected to be discussed tonight. The board meeting gets underway at 6 o'clock. Previously, the district said a decision on bus routes would be made by March. JCPS is also top of mind in Frankfort. Some lawmakers are pushing to break it into similar and smaller districts. The move is included in a resolution to create an oversight task force for districts with more than 75,000 students. Our Alex Dieter breaks down the potential impacts for kids and their families.
JCPS is once again in the focus of Kentucky lawmakers who want to make changes.
Not a surprise that it was filed, maybe a surprise over the timing.
Sam Corbett, a former JCPS school board member, points out Republican lawmakers in Frankfort are doing exactly what they've said they'd do this legislative session. A resolution to create an oversight task force for JCPS was filed in both the House and the Senate.
I think people realize how important it is to have the most successful public school system that we can.
While JCPS is not explicitly named in the resolution, it applies to school districts with more than 75,000 students. JCPS with 96,000 is the only district in Kentucky that meets the qualification. The resolution proposes breaking up JCPS to create new school districts.
There's a lot of big challenges, a lot of big issues around JCPS. But in my opinion, breaking up the school system into 2 or 3 districts is not the answer.
In response to the resolution, a JCPS spokesperson shared this statement with WHAS11. Quote, "We are fine with an objective, unbiased study of JCPS and how we might better serve students. We have been repeatedly studied, audited, and evaluated since Dr. Polio took office. However, this task force is obviously stacked in a way to come to a preordained conclusion, that is, to split up JCPS. Dr. Polio and anyone who truly understands education governance is excluded from the task force, and that says it all." In Louisville, Alex Dieter, WHAS 11 on your side.
The task force would include 1 teacher from JCPS. The other members would be lawmakers, someone from the auditor's office, a representative from the mayor's office, and appointed members who live in Louisville. In our request for a statement, JCPS pointed to 6 audits and reviews the district has undergone since 2017. That includes a 2017 Kentucky Department of Education audit, which identified 276 items that needed to be corrected. The district says each of those were fixed by 2020. The Indiana Attorney General's office is weighing in on a bond appeal from former Clark County Sheriff Jamie Knoll. In a brief filed on Monday, the Attorney General's office asked the Indiana Court of Appeals to dismiss that move. Last month, Knoll's attorney appealed the $75,000 bond set after his arrest on 15 felony charges. The bond also required him to turn over his passport and guns. The Attorney General's office argued the motion does not matter because Knoll already paid the bond and was released the very day. It adds if the court does not dismiss the appeal, it should be affirmed instead. Knoll's attorney, Larry Wilder, has previously declined to explain to us the point of this bond appeal. Well, now to Bardstown and an update in the Crystal Rogers case. The judge granted Joseph Lawson's request for a bond reduction, but he didn't get exactly what he wanted. Lawson asked for his bond to be lowered from $500,000 to $50,000, full cash. Well, Judge Charles Sims set it at $250,000. Lawson's charged with conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence. In court last week, his attorney said because he's a paraplegic, he's not a danger or flight risk. But the prosecutor said he can't be trusted out of jail because when he found out he was under investigation, he contacted friends and family in hopes of creating an alibi. Joseph Lawson, his father Steve Lawson, and Brooks Houck are all expected back in court on March 21st. Lawmakers in Frankfort want to amend Kentucky's constitution to ban non-U.S. citizens from voting. Yesterday, the full Senate passed that proposal, putting it one step closer to appearing on the November ballot. The bill proposes amending the Constitution to explicitly say people who are not citizens are not allowed to vote in the Commonwealth.
We get 4 spaces for constitutional amendments. And as far as I'm concerned, this is probably the least offensive constitutional amendment we could put on the ballot.
Louisville State Senator David Yates was one of 4 senators who voted against this bill. The Democrat said it focuses on something that isn't a problem.
Secretary of State, the Board of Elections, all have come out and said that it's not necessary. And when we say whether or not the only harm, I believe by putting a constitutional amendment on the books is a very important process. I don't think it should be more of a political or partisan or anything other, but it's something that we feel is so strongly needed to change the Constitution of Kentucky that it better at least find an issue in which we got a problem.
That bill now goes to the House for consideration. State representatives have already passed their own similar proposal. Lawmakers over in Indiana want to make some changes that could impact the state's elections. Yesterday, senators in Indianapolis heard testimony about a bill regarding artificial intelligence. It would require a disclaimer if any images, video, or audio changed a candidate or an elected official's appearance or conduct without their approval. That would let voters know it wasn't real, and without that disclaimer, the candidate or official could sue.
People have the right to know whether what they're seeing, hearing, or reading is truth or fiction. If we just require a disclaimer, campaign strategists may think twice about having to tell someone ads are not completely forthcoming.
The Senate's Election Committee has not yet voted on this bill, but it has already passed the House. Kentucky's Attorney General suing Kroger for its alleged role in the opioid crisis. In the lawsuit filed in Bullitt County Circuit Court, Russell Coleman claims between 2006 and 2019, Kroger was responsible for more than 11% of all opioid pills dispensed in Kentucky. Coleman argued Kroger failed to implement any effective monitoring program to stop suspicious opioid orders and did not report a single suspicious prescription in Kentucky in 7 years. We reached out to Kroger for comment, but have not heard back.
The ability to get the kids on campus safely without a crossing guard is a huge problem.
It is top of mind for Metro Council after several close calls and collisions outside school campuses in the last year. Students are dodging more traffic than normal, many without the help of a crossing guard. Tonight at 6, I'll explain why and how council members plan to cover more ground in the coming months.